0%, 50%, or 75% loan to value? How much debt should you get on your property? So investing in property is really about beating inflation, okay? It's called hedge against inflation, or getting the best return on your investment, right? And as I said, leverage is a key part of that. Now, there's several different reasons, but ultimately it's about something called capital growth and being able to diversify your investment. So if we've got a £200,000 property, that's amazing. Let's assume there's no fees or stamp duty just to make this easy, and you get a 5% capital growth. Bear in mind the long-term average increase on your property is 7.9% per annum since 1086, but let's say 5% for now. If you've got 5% capital growth on a £200,000 property, that means you are getting a £10,000 increase on that money. But what if instead of owning one property, you actually owned 3 properties? Well, pretty obvious, right? You get 10K, 10K, and 10K coming all together to bring you £30,000. But should you leverage to the absolute max? Let's jump into the numbers. So if we give 3 separate examples here, we'll go with 100% cash, then we'll go with 50%, and then 75% loan to value on that, okay? So we're really looking at these 3 situations. For the assumptions on this video, we are not going to take account of any additional fees like refurbishment, stamp duty, lawyer fees, broker fees, stuff like that, because really it's just to demonstrate this, okay? So if you had a £200,000 property, with £100,000, we would be able to buy 1 property, okay, 200K. If you've got 50% loan to value, you are going to end up buying 2 properties. And if you've got 75% loan to value, then you are going to be able to buy 4 properties. This is a terrible drawing, getting worse and worse. But there you go. Those are your key differences. Now, pretty staggering, isn't it? With the same £200,000 investment, you're able to buy 4 properties instead of 1. Next, you've got mortgage borrowing or debt. Okay, so if we're looking at debt on this, now this is something to take account of when you're leveraging, because ultimately that is where the risk comes in as well, right? So obviously on this, you've got 0. At 50% loan to value, you're going to be getting £200,000 worth of debt, which is £100,000 on each property. And then with 75% loan to value, you're going to be getting £600,000 worth of debt. Scary, right? Which is £150,000 on each property. Then what we're going to have is the interest payment. You're going to have to pay an interest on that. Now, with buy-to-let properties, it's interest-only debt, which means that when you're paying on a monthly basis, you're typically only paying down the actual interest. On this, you're obviously paying 0 because there's no debt whatsoever. If we got 5% on the 200,000, then you're going to be paying £10,000 interest, or $833 a month, and on 600,000 at 5%, you're going to be paying £30,000 per annum, which is £2,500. So quite scary costs coming out once you go down the line, right? This is looking more appealing. But let's look at the rental income. So when we look at rent, now it starts to tell a bit more of an exciting story. So with the rent over a year with 1 property, you're going to get £10,332, which equates to £861 a month. If you've got 2 properties, then you are going to be getting double that, which is £20,664. Which equates to about £1,700 a month. And then if you're getting 4 properties, then you're going to get double that again, which is £41,328, which again is about £3,500 per calendar month. So this is where we start netting down, okay? So what we need to do is this figure on each minus this figure, and that's going to give our net rent. Now the difference isn't going to actually be that large, considering you've got 4 times the amount of property. So let's call this profit, P-O-F, P-R-O-F there. Profit. So 10,332 minus the 0, sorry, 10,332. 20,664 minus the 10,000 is 10,664. Not exactly that much difference considering you've got 2 properties now. Or if you've got the 4 properties, £41,328 minus the 30,000 gives you £11,328. Now, so you do get more net income with the 4 properties, but is it really worth the extra £1,000? Well, that's really going to depend on what you think of the market and what you think of the longevity. So we've got 11,000. See how I'm slanting down a bit there, can't you? So 11,000, not really worth it. But this is where the capital growth comes in. Now, obviously, capital growth isn't guaranteed, but then, is anything. But I think 5% over the long term is actually quite reasonable. Now, will that go down? Yes. People right now are going, well, what if the market dips 10%? So what? If I did my weekly shop right now and it's £100 and then next week it's £90, I'm not going to moan about it. I'm going to appreciate the discount. But I'm not going to not buy food this week just because it might go down next week. It's ridiculous, right? So if you've got one property in year 1, then that's going to go up. Let's say it's a £200,000 property, then it's gone up £10,000. And that is pure profit, by the way. Yes, it's on paper, not in your bank, but that is real money. If you've got 2 properties, then it literally doubles to £20,000. And you guessed it, if you've got 4 properties, you make £40,000. So your overall income from 4 properties to 1 is actually 11,328 plus the 40k, which is 51,328 versus 10,000 plus the 10,332, which is around 20k. So now suddenly having these extra 4 properties is making you an additional 30,000 plus every single year. So for me, without a shadow of a doubt, is the risk of a mortgage, which is incredibly low risk, incredibly cheap finance in the grand scheme of things. Interest rates are going up right now, but very, very cheap. Is that worth the extra £30,000 a year for me? Well, yes. But there are some additional pros and cons of having this leverage involved in your portfolio. So the pros of buying cash is, number 1, there is 0 risk whatsoever, okay? 0 risk. You don't need to worry about what the mortgage company wants to do. You don't need to worry about asking for permission to do anything in the property because you own it outright. You don't need to worry about fluctuations in interest rates. You don't need to worry about any sort of recession. Again, am I worried about any of that? No, not at all. But you don't need to worry at all if you don't have mortgage debt. You're going to have faster purchasing power because you're able to buy cash, and you only ever need to worry about that one property rather than multiple properties. So it's only that one tenant that you ever really need to worry about. But what are the pros of leverage? Well, first of all, capital growth is exponential because naturally you're getting capital growth on more properties, and it's of the overall value of the portfolio, which if I leverage, and again, we're not taking account of fees, I've got an £800,000 portfolio, getting 5% per year, which is 40 grand increase in my net wealth, or one £200,000 property. Okay, not so similar, right? I'm going to go with the growth on that. Next is the tenant. I mentioned you're only managing one tenant in the other, but actually with only one tenant, you either have a 100% occupancy or a 0% occupancy. When you've got 4 properties, I can go from 100% to 75% to 100% to 50% to 100% to 25% or 0. So 0, 25, 50, 75 or 100. There's a lot of in between 0 and 100, and so it spreads my risk. It's diversifying against different properties and tenant types. Not only that, you're actually able to spread your risk as well, because unless you're buying all of the properties on, I'm not going to try and buy those properties, but buying these properties all along the same street, then it's very unlikely that they've got the same types of tenant, the same risk. If something happens on that street and it impacts all of them, it's very unlikely. You know, you're likely to have a property here, you'll have a property over here, you'll have a property over here, and then maybe you have one on this street as well. And so you're diversifying all the way through, and yes, I know they are dodgy looking properties right now. But my overall game is I will leverage to 75% loan to value. And the last thing that I personally would take account of is my age. So I'm thinking out loud here, because the older you are, the less risk is needed. And so if I'm between the age of, say, 18 to 55, I am going to be buying absolutely everything at 75% loan to value. That's really like my limit, is where I'm at. 75% loan to value, incredibly safe. It can weather pretty much every single recession. And honestly, if a recession happens where we're dropping 30 to 40%, I've got bigger problems than worrying about getting some of my portfolio taken away. I just don't care. And do I think that's likely? Absolutely not. I think the next recession will be around 7 to 10% personally, but that's for another video. Once I get to 55 to 65, that's where I'll probably be working down the debt to get to about 50% loan to value. And honestly, would I ever go to 0%, i.e. all cash? No. Absolutely not, unless it was a temporary measure to buy an amazing property and then refinance. But personally, to the day that I die, I will be in significant debt. And as soon as you understand there is a big difference between bad debt and good debt, the better the property investor you will be. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know yours, because ultimately this video is for you. I'm just sharing one person's opinion. Please do not take this as financial advice. I'm not qualified in any way to give financial advice. But what would you do? Are you going to be 75% loan to value or higher, 50% loan to value, or are you, no, I want zero risk whatsoever, I am a cash buyer? Let me know in the comments. If you're new to the channel and you want to find out more about property investment, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're updated each and every time. I'm posting 3 times a week to give you the best education that I can for free. If you got value from this video in particular, make sure to destroy the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.